Now, today's video is a tribute to the final years of true great automobiles, before the age of soulless plastic, endless subscriptions, and software updates. Let's kick things off with the final breaths of the body-on-frame American sedan, a dying breed by the mid-1990s. Two icons stand tall at the twilight of this era, the 1996 Chevrolet Caprice and the 1994 Buick Roadmaster. Now, these weren't cars you bought to show off at the valet stand. No, these were cars you bought because you wanted to cruise, not coast. Take the Caprice, for example. The final generation came with the legendary LT1 5.7-liter V8 under the hood, the same engine found in the Corvette of the time. It pumped out 260 horsepower and enough torque to make highway passing feel effortless. This was a full-size sedan with muscle car DNA, all wrapped up in a suit. And then there's the Buick Roadmaster, perhaps one of the most underrated American cruisers ever made. It was smooth, quiet, and unapologetically large. It could seat 6 in comfort and swallow an entire family vacation's worth of luggage without breaking a sweat. But don't let the luxury badge fool you. This was also a V8-powered brute under the hood, with the same LT1 engine as the Caprice. It even came with a long-roof station wagon variant that could tow up to 5,000 pounds. That's right, your road trip mobile could outhaul an American crossover. Inside, these cars weren't trying to be high-tech. They were cozy, durable, and built with honest materials, real wood trim, cushy bench seats, analog gauges, no flimsy touchscreens or cost-cut dashboards here, just old-school craftsmanship and enough steel to make modern cars look like soda cans. Now, these cars marked the end of an era where weight, size, and solid construction were virtues, not drawbacks. When you slammed the door shut, it didn't rattle, it echoed with authority. That sound? That was quality, and we haven't heard it since. While American sedans were built like tanks, across the Pacific, Japan was perfecting a different kind of automotive art, one rooted in precision, quality, and quiet confidence. The 1990s weren't just a golden age for Japanese engineering. They were a masterclass in how to build a car that could outlast its owner. Let's start with the 1990s Toyota Camry. Back then, the Camry wasn't just a sensible commuter, it was a marvel of over-engineering. We're talking cast-iron engine blocks that could take abuse for decades, transmissions that shifted like butter, and build quality that made the doors feel like they were carved from granite. Now, these Camrys didn't just get you to work, they made you forget what a repair bill looked like. And then came the Lexus LS400, Toyota's bold move into the luxury arena. It wasn't just Japan's answer to the Mercedes S-Class, it was a quiet revolution. Under the hood, a 4.0-liter V8 so smooth and balanced, you could rest a coin on the engine at idle without it falling over. Double wishbone suspension, double-pane acoustic glass, and a fit and finish that made German brands sweat. This was a car designed by perfectionists, engineers who weren't satisfied until the door hinges sounded just right. These cars were built not for flash, but for forever. They didn't squeak, rattle, or age poorly. They were quiet, cleanly styled, and mechanically unkillable. And unlike today's offerings, they weren't programmed for obsolescence. They were made to run forever. This was peak Japanese craftsmanship, not just reliable, we're talking bulletproof. And once you've owned one, everything that came after that just feels cheap. Next up, Europe and the E39 legacy. If you ask a BMW enthusiast when the magic died, most will tell you the same thing. It ended with the E39. Built from 1995 to 2003, this wasn't just the best 5 Series BMW ever made. It was the sweet spot, where analog precision met German engineering at its absolute peak. The E39 wasn't trying to dazzle you with giant screens or artificial engine noises. It didn't need to. It had something far better: feel. The steering wasn't just responsive, it was alive. You could feel the road through your fingertips. The chassis? Perfectly balanced, 50-50 front to rear. It was one of the few sedans in history that could carve corners like a sports car, and then glide home in quiet, composed comfort. Take the 540i, a 4.4-liter V8 paired with a 6-speed manual transmission. It was the gentleman's muscle car, subtle on the outside, brutal when you buried your foot. Then there was the M5, the king of the hill, a 400 horsepower, naturally aspirated V8 screamer that did 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. No turbos, no tricks, just pure mechanical brilliance wrapped in a steel shell. And the interior? Not a piano black fingerprint magnet in sight, just clean lines, actual buttons, and a driver-focused cockpit that made you feel like a pilot. This was the kind of car that respected the driver and expected the driver to respect the car. The E39 wasn't just a BMW, it was the BMW. The last one before they softened the edges, added gimmicks, and lost the soul that made the brand legendary. While many cars are made to last a decade, there are some made to last a lifetime, and then some. Enter the Mercedes-Benz W124, built to outlive the owner. Produced from 1984 to 1996, this mid-sized Benz was a mechanical masterpiece. Engineers were given a blank check and told to build something that could survive the Autobahn, the Sahara, and the Russian tundra without blinking. And they did. The result was a sedan so overbuilt, so obsessively engineered, it's still outliving its owners today. Shut the door on a W124, and you don't hear a clunk, you hear a vault seal. Every piece of trim fits with surgical precision. The plastics don't fade, the seats don't sag, and the engine, whether it's the buttery inline 6 or the unstoppable diesel, just keeps humming along, mile after mile, decade after decade. This was peak Mercedes, back when the three-pointed star stood for uncompromising quality. No gimmicks, no frills, just a level of durability and craftsmanship that makes modern cars look like disposable tech toys. The W124 wasn't just built for a buyer, it was built for the buyer's kids, and grandkids too. Remember when cars had buttons that actually did something? When turning a knob gave you a satisfying click, not a laggy animation? Well, that was the era of real user interfaces, before the touchscreen takeover, and cars like the Acura Legend and the Saab 900 embodied it perfectly. The Acura Legend, especially in its second generation, was a masterclass in thoughtful design. Everything was right where you needed it: climate control, stereo, seat adjusters, physical, tactile, intuitive. No distracting screens, no menus buried inside other menus. You could keep your eyes on the road and still operate every function with a quick flick or press, even with gloves on. Then there was the Saab 900. Quirky? Absolutely, but in the best way. The switchgear felt like it belonged in a fighter jet, and that's not just a metaphor. Saab literally made jets. The 900 center console curved around the driver like a cockpit, loaded with sturdy switches and toggles that clicked with authority. It even had the key in the center console, because why not? This was engineering with character. No software patches, no boot-up times, no risk of your HVAC system crashing mid-winter. These cars were built to work, not to be updated, and they did it beautifully, year after year, because real quality doesn't need a patch note. Before paddle shifters and CVTs took over the world, there were cars that still believed in the art of driving, machines that demanded your involvement, rewarded your precision, and made every red light a chance to heel-toe downshift just for the thrill of it. Take the Mazda Miata NA and NB. Pure, simple, rear-wheel drive joy, lightweight bodies, razor-sharp handling, and a 5-speed manual that felt like it was carved out of granite. No drive modes, no fake engine sounds, just a rev-happy 4-cylinder and the road ahead. Or the Toyota Celica GTS, especially in its 7th-gen form. A high-revving 1.8-liter screamer with VVT-Li, Toyota's answer to VTEC. Redline, 8,200 RPM, and it loved it up there. Paired with a crisp 6-speed manual and a tossable chassis, it proved that you didn't need big power to have a huge grin. These cars didn't just survive the oncoming wave of soulless tech and plastic. They fought back. With every gear shift, every perfectly weighted steering input, they reminded us of what driving used to feel like: real, raw, and totally analog. They were the last of their kind, and if you've ever driven one, you know they were glorious. Next up, mid-2000s. A quiet but undeniable shift swept through the automotive world, and not for the better. Suddenly, hard plastics replaced soft touch materials, fake chrome, glossy black panels, and cost-cutting shortcuts became the new normal. Cars that once felt hand-built and hardy started feeling like mass-produced appliances. Doors didn't close with a reassuring thud anymore. They rattled. Switchgear lost its satisfying click, replaced by flimsy buttons that felt like afterthoughts. Under the hood, the engines changed too. They got quieter, yes, but also less characterful. Turbocharged 4 cylinders replaced naturally aspirated 6s. Everything was optimized for emissions and fuel economy, but the result was powertrains that felt numb, controlled, sanitized. And then came the screens. Touchscreens took over dashboards, burying climate controls and radio dials in digital menus. No more intuitive knobs or tactile feedback, just fingerprints and frustration. The connection between driver and machine began to fade, smothered under layers of software, subscription services, and infotainment bloat. Cars stopped feeling like living, breathing machines. They started feeling like, well, tools, silent, efficient, and utterly soulless. It was the end of an era, and for many of us, It felt like something precious had been lost. If you feel the same way too, well, welcome to the club. Now these cars weren't just transportation. They were memories on wheels, milestones, moments frozen in steel. Back when a car wasn't just something you used, it was something you felt. If you still own one of these classics, don't let go. You're not just keeping a car alive, you're preserving a time when machines were built with character, grit, and integrity. Well, thanks for riding along. Subscribe if you like the content and keep the classics alive. And most importantly, never trade character for convenience.